Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Thursday, the 12th of September, 2013, Town of Penfield Planning Board hearing. We have two public hearings and a sketch plan for this evening. We'll listen to the applicants, we'll have questions from the board, and then we'll open it up for anyone that wants to speak. Following the public hearing, we'll deliberate in the back of the auditorium all matters before us. Should you have any questions after the hearings, please feel free to call the planning department. Katie?
Application number 1, James Bramall, Bramall Architects, 6459 West Quaker Street, Orchard Park, New York, 14127, on behalf of Heathwood Assisted Living at Penfield. Requests under Articles 8-8-2 of the Code, preliminary and final subdivision approval to allow the division of one 11.92 acre lot into two lots located at 100 Elderwood Court to be known as 100 Elderwood Court. The property is now or formerly owned by Heathwood Assisted Living at Penfield and is zone MR. Application number 13P-0022, SBL number 125.03-2-55.
Good evening. I am Jim Bramall. We had met early on a sketch plan, had made a submittal. There were 6 comments back, which we addressed. I hope everybody did receive those. I assume that did happen. I can go through those 6 comments just to make sure that everything's been addressed properly then. Hopefully the plans that you have show what this plan doesn't, because that layer of the changes didn't plot when we turned that one on tonight. But I will tell you what is indeed included in your package. The first item was dealing with a strip of land down at the entrance that they wanted to be sure was part of 100 Elderwood Court, and indeed it is part of that property by survey, and that by description is included in what you now currently have. The second item was a storm easement should be added to the egress easement geometry. What's really happening is we are providing for just a line in the whole property right now for financial reasons of ownership. In putting this line here so that something could happen here someday to allow for access to connect through the property, we're allowing for ingress egress across this whole portion of the property. So we've also added the storm sewer easement to this piece of property. That was the direction it made sense to do. The shape of that property was the third item, basically trying to go back to what was originally submitted when there was a concept to have almost a 90-degree angle here. The reason we've done this is just purely out of vehicular geometry, so that we're not having to make it a 90-degree turn and then yet another one 20 feet later. We don't expect traffic, but in terms of snow plowing and internal traffic and things like that, it was just easier to make a more gentle curve out of it. It doesn't change anything in our mind, but that's the only reason we really did that. Item 4 was to schedule the easement added for the drainage inspection, and it basically applies to the whole property anyway, according to the land surveyor. But he claims he's addressed that. So again, I hope that's been covered in your resubmission. And the 5th item was the shed and making sure that it moves as was promised when phase 1 was developed, that should anything happen, the shed in this location would be relocated. And indeed it will once something happens. There's no development planned right now. They have nothing on the boards for this. They're just looking at trying to do this so financially they can consider doing something. And then the building ties, there was a question about making sure that the dimensions were identified back here up in this location. And that, again, by the surveyor was picked up. So at this stage, we're really just looking for the line so that they can contemplate it.
Were there some other questions, Jim, with the property line to the south?
Here?
Down there, yes.
That it's part of the 100 court, and it is included in the property. It didn't show up in the description, I guess, according to the change of title, and it all came down to the name of 100 Elderwood Court versus the Heathwood piece, and it just didn't fall into suit. According to the surveyor, it is covered.
So those issues have all been worked out.
Yeah, I think they were in the process of trying to change the name of the company that was going to own this, and it began to mix things up. So they just said, forget it, leave it alone, we'll deal with that later. Yeah.
No other concerns you rest, the comments, you identified all those comments by the PRC and everything else looks good at this point?
Yeah. Yeah.
there any plans to have another drive in from 250?
That was discussed way back in day one, and the answer was no then, for several reasons. We brought it up in our sketch plan review a couple months back, or a month back, about should we consider that. The only reason we left that open was to allow for what might be a second means of ingress or egress, even vehicularly for emergency vehicles or general traffic. That's the whole reason this dimension is what it is, but it goes right over the easement for utilities. So it would be a small drive. If anything, it may not even show up in the plan. It may not make sense to do. It may not make planning sense. So at this point, there is no plan for it, but there's an opportunity, should it make sense for anything down the road.
What are you looking to develop there?
Still nothing is planned. If anything, it's more along the lines of what Phase 1 came in, which I believe was independent housing. Yeah.
Questions?
So the only access easement to that property is the ingress,
Correct. Yeah.
which is what, 20 feet wide?
As paving goes, yes. Yes.
Anything else? Anyone in the audience? Yes, ma'am. You want to come up to the podium, please, and identify yourself?
There's millions of people watching TV, so
I don't really want to.
you can be a
I'm
star.
Judy Solomon. I'm a neighbor at Lot 21 on Random Knolls. It's 42 Random Knolls. That says Robert and Susan Meisel, but we just bought there. And just was concerned, when you say independent housing, what do you mean by independent housing? Just subdivision or related to like housing to progress towards the assisted living or patio homes or high-rise? What are you thinking of?
Can I address that? Sure.
Yes, go ahead. I mean, step up to the podium, would you
Okay,
please?
we'll share
Yeah.
the podium
Yeah.
together here. Typically, independent housing is single-story, maybe 2 to 3 or 4 units together in one building. A series of those buildings may be placed around the property. I think that's what was initially proposed
Yes.
in the original development. So it might be a building here, a building here, a building here with single families in them. So there might, I don't know how many, 20 maybe
Or
units
23.
or
Yeah,
something?
23.
22 or 23
yeah.
there were.
I mean, that's years ago, I'm really stretching, but 20, and that's all that would be in here. We're not looking at any high-rise, we don't even know that it would be considered in the market. So it's too early, nobody's even thinking about developing anything, but I know that's what was proposed initially, and there's really no change to that. So nobody's looking to build anything right now.
Yeah, okay, as a neighbor, I mean, I can just say that as it is now, you know, it was opened up, it was all cleared out, it was woods before, and now it's clear, and we can see the nursing home through it as it is. And I don't think, speaking for, which I can't do technically, but, I mean, nobody would be really happy about seeing anything built in there. We want the peace and the quiet that we bought that area for, and wouldn't be looking forward to.
Excuse me, Judy.
building.
You need to speak to the board.
Oh,
Okay.
okay,
When
no,
you're- when
we
you're
wouldn't
telling
be.
us- okay.
No, we wouldn't be looking forward to anything being built back there. My husband and I can speak for us, but, you know, I can say that all of us right along, we're right here. You know, we don't want to see any more trees come down. We don't want to see anything close backing up there anymore. It would be better, you know, we would be happier if there was nothing built there, but I understand that's not the question for the night, but just to say, we wouldn't be looking forward to that, so I hope that
Okay.
at least the neighbors would be considered.
My name is Katie. I work in the planning department. If you want to give me a call tomorrow, I can explain the process and how we notify you and your participation in plan review in the future if something were to happen.
Yeah, I guess some of the neighbors did get a card about this night, so I wanted to come, but thank you for.
Great.
Thank you.
Welcome to Penfield.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else? Any other questions from the board? Okay, thanks, Jim. Close this hearing.
Application number 2, Charles Smith, RA, Design Works Architecture, PC, 3300 Monroe Avenue, Suite 117, Rochester, New York, 14618. On behalf of Lalit and Shashika Shah, requests under Articles 9-9-2 of the Code preliminary and final site plan approval to allow the construction of a 1,280 square foot, one-story office building on 2.8 acres, located at 2041 Penfield Road, to be known as 2041 Penfield Road. The property is now or formerly owned by Lalit and Sharika Shah and is zoned PD. Application number 13P-0024, SBL number 139.08-2-1.11.
Hi, my name is Neeraj Shah, and I'm going to be talking about our application. It involves 2041 Penfield Road. I'm here with Chuck Smith of Design Work Architecture. He's primarily responsible for the plan. My parents, Lalit and Surika Shah, are the owners of the property. Myself, I'm hopefully going to be the tenant of the new building that we're looking to put up. I'm a CPA and an attorney. So my parents, they've been long-time Penfield residents. They've been Penfield residents since 1980, and they've owned this property since 1986. They've tried hard to maintain a high standard right on this primary property. I graduated Penfield High in 1992. My current business is in Gates. I'm very much looking forward to moving closer to home. So this is really, I have a big interest in this. I'm going to talk a little about the project, and then I'm going to skip to Chuck, who'll talk about some highlights, some significant items. So just to put some perspective, 2041 Penfield Road is about 2.79 acres, and it's located on the south side of Penfield Road and east of Sanders Farm Road. It's on top of the hill, right before you get to Wegmans, depending on which way you're going, and it's between Route 250 and Baird Road. There's undeveloped land to the east. There's residences located to the south and to the west of the property. So this application proposes to construct a one-story office building of approximately 1,280 square feet to be placed just south of the existing building. This plan also calls for the removal of an existing garage. The actual building that we're proposing to construct is in the general vicinity of that garage. And what this plan really allows to do is it allows to, one of the things it allows to do is it would create a more linear, a clean parking layout of the larger plan in comparison to an already approved plan. The already approved plan, you guys remember me from before. We were here just last year. The already approved plan did a few things. The two major things that it did was it combined two separate tax lots, and it allowed the construction of a two-story office building, a much larger office building, 6,000 square feet, to be placed just west of the existing building. So what's been done since? The tax lots have been combined legally. The final Mylars have been submitted to the town for signature. An application for a building permit has been submitted, and we've contracted with a commercial real estate agent to try to bring in tenants. And which brings us to today. Why are we looking to build a smaller building now, and why is there a delay in constructing the larger building? Well, it's in these economic times, what we've found out is it's pretty hard to rent out the larger building. My parents are the owners of it, and they just don't feel comfortable constructing a large building with most of it vacant. So the mindset is still to pursue to pursue renting it and building the larger building, but only after we have commitments from tenants. But that doesn't help me, because I want to move to Penfield. So, and I'm not happy where my business is in Gates. So I think moving to Penfield, my law practice is estate planning, tax law, and business law, and it dovetails nicely with my dad's tax practice. And I really feel, my dad also feels that we can serve our clients much better, just having two heads look at our clients rather than one. So I wanted to come out here. So we said that maybe we can we can construct a smaller building just south of the existing building. So hopefully this can move me in ASAP. The second thing, the rationale for delaying it is, of course, we just don't want a vacant building out there. I'm going to leave it to Chuck. He's going to talk about some of the highlights of the plan. He's going to talk about campus feel, similar character, parking, and better screening.
Good evening, I'm Chuck Smith with DesignWorks Architecture. And what Neeraj handed out was one image of a model of the property that you would see with the existing building, the proposed building, and the proposed larger office building as you'd see entering from Route 441 and then from Penfield Road. And then the other plans are the latest plans of the building themselves, the elevations, cross-section, and plans of the building. So one of the things I wanted to show to the board was sort of the relationship of the three buildings on the site as it exists today without any improvements. Test. Turn that on. So I'll just hold this up and show it to you. What we've got is the white building is the existing building. Here's Penfield Road. And then you've got the proposed 6,000 square foot building, which has been approved. The existing garage, which is being removed. And then this is the building we're in front of you today for. These are the two-family residences that are a little west and south of our property. So I'll hand this over to you so you can take a look at it closer. And then this view, which I handed to you, is the view of the campus that we will be creating from Route 441. And so what we've proposed to do is build this new one-story office building with a similar character and design details as the proposed office building that's been approved, which also picks up on some of the characteristics of the existing office building, which is the white building. We're using similar pitches of roof, 712 pitches, and then it's with the predominantly white character of the buildings. We expect that it'll tie all together as a campus feel. So I've already handed this image to you for your review. Where's the on button? I don't know.
down and hold. Left button?
The left button.
Test. Okay. So the top of the page is north and it's Penfield Road. And we've got Saunders Farm Road. The building we're talking about is right here. This is the existing structure. This is the approved 6,000 square foot, 2-story office building. And the changes from this plan are that we've rearranged the parking in this area. There was parking, it was going to be future. We're going to build it today for this building. We're removing a garage, which is right here, which blocked us from coming directly down. So previously, we had to go around the garage building and park right in here. And we thought that putting the parking here as opposed to here also would be favorable to these residences in their backyard. So our new building will actually be doing some screening to this driveway. In addition, we separated this piece of the parking from this parking with a peninsula, which we're going to be planting as a little screen to break up the view of continuous parking along this east side of the road. And then we are planning on doing the improvements that we discussed in the first approval, which is eliminating the second curb cut on Penfield Road right here, and also constructing this access to Sanders Farm. So we will establish the circulation that we liked for the office plan, the 6,000 square foot office plan, and that will help us to establish the site plan for this. All the drainage remains the same. We still have, although we won't be excavating and cutting into this area other than for the road, our drainage for this whole area is going to be contained by this retention structure, which continues to drain down to an existing catch basin, which is connected to the or to the storm sewer system right in the back of the property line. So all these improvements from here back will be made as planned for this structure. And the other change has been that the dumpster location enclosure, which was in this area right off the existing garage, is now placed at the back of the parking lot right here. So I'll take any questions that you may have.
I didn't see the cross-access that we talked about in the first plan.
Yes, it still exists. We have to, we're moving it slightly in the easement language, but it's still going to be existing.
I didn't have a lot of questions. This was pretty clean as far as that. Anybody else on the board?
Chuck, there's no variances necessary for this new plant?
No, there's not.
Anyone else?
No, but the only odd thing about this district is that it needs a special permit through the town board, so they will be required to go back to town board.
So in essence, you're making all the improvements that were part of the original approval, except instead of building the 6,000 square foot office building, you're building a 1,280 square foot office building?
Correct.
Okay.
Basically, there are some improvements that will be required for the 6,000 square foot building, which we aren't going to build right away, and that mainly has to do with the parking and drainage for that building, which there is a retention area right in here that needs to be constructed as part of this office building. We're not going to be touching that hillside.
Okay, but you're going to take out the horseshoe.
We are going to do our curb cut here and build this portion right in here for this road.
So, Chuck, that pond that's being built right next to the new office, is that as big as that will ever be? Or are you going to be doing more earthwork when the 6,000 square foot building gets?
That structure is sized for the entire development. So it's much bigger than it actually has to be today or for this smaller office building,
Okay.
but it's,
Anyone else? Anyone in the audience? You want to come up, please, sir?
Hi, my name is John Trowbridge, and my wife and I own 16 Sanders Farm Drive, which would be here. A few questions. I'll try not to be too disjointed here.
Want to direct your questions here, sir?
Okay. Who was it that did the drainage study? And was the asphalt, the parking lot, taken into account on this drainage and all the math done on that? And how many square feet is that pavement that's going to be there? And I'm also wondering, how much space is there between this property and the driveway? How wide is the driveway that's going to go in there? And how much room from that driveway to 441?
Those things were all asked and answered in the original application, and that driveway was part of that, where they did do it. I don't know if we're beating a dead horse. But
Okay,
I'm just pointing that out. I mean, that was already done. It's in exactly the same place as it was in the original application. They're just putting it in now.
Okay, I'm just asking.
Yeah.
Because I'm wondering how many car lengths are there? Because when you come off 441, it's a pretty quick left-hand turn there into this property. The reason that matters to me, I have a one-year-old grandson, and there's a bunch of other kids in the neighborhood now. They're going to get older. They're going to get more mobile. And then, I guess now, this is news to me, the 1,200 square foot building, which I kind of like. But then the other building, you'll have to excuse me, I have not seen this yet. The other building that you're hoping to put up, the 6,000 square foot, is over here, I take it? Next to the parking lot, or next to the parking.
Just west of that.
There it is, right there, yeah. Your hand
This
Yeah,
is
the
the-
one, that's the existing one.
Okay. Existing, this is the 1,200, is
That's
that
the-
correct?
Now, the 1,200's in the parking lot, just,
To the south.
there you go.
Okay. Okay.
So that other one up on Penfield Road was the building that was approved,
Okay.
6,000.
Trying to think when that approval was granted.
This is the little one we were talking
early
Okay.
this year.
right here.
The application was made in 2012, and it was approved for the front building, and it was approved earlier this year. So then the applicants, in doing their due diligences, determined that they didn't want to build the 6,000 square foot building right away, that they just needed a very small building in the immediate future.
I had assumed that was pretty much what was going on, who wants to build on spec. And, good choice. Will the parking lot change if the larger building is put up?
Probably only to the extent that the plan shows what was approved.
Okay. And then this new plan with the two new buildings, the parking lot, the drainage, is this kind of like it gets approved here, so they'll be approved for the larger building at the same time? Or is that another issue come up?
No, the larger building has already been approved.
Okay.
This is a new thing.
So this is the new thing?
Right.
To do this, okay. Once again, I was here last year, and I do have to tell you, I have standing water down here. These trees down here are dying. There's just too much water there for them. So that's why I ask who, I'd like to know who did the study for it, because I may want to talk to them.
I can address that. I don't have the name of the individual who did the engineer report, but I can certainly get that for you if you want to give me a call tomorrow. I can also provide you with a copy of all the application materials. I'd be happy
good.
to email them to you. But I just want you to be aware that because of your comments and your neighbors' comments during the last application, when the board heard the public hearing for the first original new building, our engineering department went out and spent a lot of time on the property and inspected the outfall structures and determined that upgrades were needed. And those were incorporated into the utility plan of the big building that was approved earlier this year. So whatever happens here, your drainage is going to improve as a result of this project. Well, I could say not necessarily for the smaller building that we're reviewing right now, that's up for discussion. But the plan that this board approved earlier this year, your drainage will improve as a result of the utility installation that was required as a condition of approval. So right now, we're in the process of reviewing, okay, well, if he puts in this 1,200 square foot building, what impact does that have on the approved drainage plan? So that's all part of
Good.
this process.
Okay, good, and you'll do all that, so that's fine. Yes, I do not want to stop progress, but I really don't want it to be at the expense of everybody that lives there 24 hours a day. So I think that pretty much answers everything I have. Thank you.
And I think that the parking that they're proposing for the new building, most of that was there. They were just leaving it green. That was approved originally. It actually works out better with the old garage gone and building the new building.
This is nice over here.
Yes.
It really is.
That'll be a huge improvement.
My concern really is all about the traffic, and the drainage is second. Only because I live there. I can't tell you how many times I've heard the fire engines, the police cars, the ambulances at that corner of Sanders Farm and 441. I'd hate to see that get worse, and I'd hate to see my grandson or one of the other children involved. Those are my concerns, so I appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Hi there, I'm Ryan Robbins. We live at 6 Sanders Farm, so we're kind of on the corner. This is 441. We're right here, so we bump up basically next to John and Mary's property. And why I came tonight is just primarily, luckily, I'm kind of uphill, so the drainage isn't a huge concern of mine. But what is going to be the traffic impact on Sanders Farm. I work in Rochester and will go out Sanders Farm every single morning, and my main concern is why, I guess, do we have to have a office building and an office complex driveway connect to a 100% residential street? That's our neighborhood. So when we have an office building with all that traffic coming out there, why? And then there's no traffic light there, so are people going to kind of cut through and go through Willow Pond Way to the other, to where there is a traffic light? That's going to be one of my concerns. And I guess the other thing is with that entrance there, you're going to be encouraging people to come into Sanders Farm, where there would be a completely, perfectly viable option of going in and out right there on a commercial area and contain it all that way. And I know this area well. If you are coming or going westbound over here, this is all a hill right there. If you hang a left into Sanders Farm here, you could get rear-ended really bad. It's something that we've lived in our house for about 5 years, 5.5 years. I will never hang a left into Sanders Farm from the east, because when you're looking in your rearview mirror, just people come barreling over that hill. It's just kind of blind there. So I guess those are my major concerns. And if this is to happen, obviously I have no control over that. Can we look at perhaps putting in more stop signs throughout this very residential area where, you know, I'm on this corner, so I see the chaos of people, you know, rolling a stop sign to go to the right and almost getting, you know, T-boned. I've got a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, and I just want to make sure that they're safe. So if we had, you know, stop signs or speed bumps, things along those lines to just make it a big, you know, basically a pain in the butt for people to come through the neighborhood, to encourage them to go up Penfield Road, I think that would be, you know, really good, because as you go down this, you know, it's a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 1-year-old, kindergartner, right over there, they have like 3-year-olds. So there's just, you know, the neighborhood's really turned. When we bought in there, it was basically older people and then, you know, younger people with dogs. Now the dogs have turned into kids. That's my main concern. So, and then the last thing is with the, I like that this would be developed and look a lot nicer, because right now it's just kind of, you know, it's just an unsightly part, you know, definitely of the road. My only concern is with the pond and the depth. If we could make sure that they're deep enough so they don't turn into into one of those just weed swamps. My in-laws live in Penfield on like Woodfield Drive. And it's a nice neighborhood, but the pond is, you know, maybe 3 or 4 feet deep. And when you drive into there now, especially this time of year, it's just it just looks terrible because of all the because, you know, it's just basically algae and weeds. It's just not a very sightly thing. So it doesn't smell good either. So that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. I don't know about the stop signs. Who takes a look at those?
The engineering department reviews stop sign requests, so you can certainly, actually, if, I'm a broken record, if you want to call me tomorrow, I can answer your questions point by point. And there is another exit on the property on Penfield Road on the far east side of the property where the existing exit is into Sanders Farm. Entrance exit, that will remain. So you have 2 options to enter the property. Sole option is not just Sanders Farm. You can enter in off Penfield Road.
Yeah, the traffic there was addressed in the original application. And one of the reasons when I asked about the access road that empties into Willow Pond was looking at connecting those properties so that people going through Willow Pond to the red light to get out would have been maybe a better decision to make than trying to get out on Sanders or off of Sanders or pulling out onto 441 from the dentist's office. But the amount of traffic that they're generating on that site is minimal. I mean, these are not, you know, huge traffic generating businesses. So that you're not looking at hundreds of cars every day, which you'd probably like, right, Neeraj? Any other people in the audience like to speak to this project? Okay, thank you. Close this hearing.
Application number 3, Chris Marks, YMCA of Greater Rochester, 444 East Main Street, Rochester, New York, 14604, requests an informal discussion with the board regarding the construction of a building addition and parking lot expansion on 50.83 acres located at 1835 and 1835B Fairport 9 Mile Point Road, to be known as Eastside Family YMCA. The property is now or formerly owned by YMCA of Greater Rochester and is zoned RA-2 and RR-1. Application number 13P-0023, SPL number 125.01-1-34.12, and 125.01-1-34.13.
Hello, I'm Christopher Marks. I'm the Vice President of Properties at the YMCA of Greater Rochester. I'm the one that submitted the application for the expansion on the East Side Family YMCA. I've also provided you the submittals for the project and the response for your comments. Today I have with me a team of experts. Present is Kevin Fitzpatrick, the executive for East Side Family YMCA. I have the site plan review with Mark Kenward from Erdman Anthony. I have Steve Ferrani, to whom has provided this traffic study for us. I also have Jeff Rollison from Labella Architects. Also present with me is my president and CEO, George Ramel. So with that, I'll give the podium to Kevin to kick off. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Hopefully, I'll try and be quick because there is a Red Sox game and a Patriots game, so I'm going to try and move through here. But
you live in Penfield, right?
it's a Penfield Patriots, so there is a little bit there. So we'll see. I don't know if that helped or hurt me right at this point, but we'll see. I'm Kevin Fitzpatrick. I'm the executive director of the East Side YMCA. I'm also a Penfield resident. So tonight, what I'm going to share with you is really just a quick overview of what our facility and our expansion plan is. After that, I'll let Mark from Erdman Anthony sort of review the site plan, the parking and all those things. Also the PRC comments, he'll review that. We'll also talk a little bit about parking. Steve and his group has done some, where's Steve? Oh, over there. Parking, so he can answer all of those questions. I'm not an expert with all of those. And then we'll sort of end with Jeff Rollison from Labella talking about the building itself and what it will look like. So we know those have all been questions in the past, so we'll try and answer those for you tonight. So really with our expansion, it's about 25,000 square feet. Right now the building's about 70,000 square feet, so we're adding on, so we'll be about 95,000 square feet altogether. What we're really looking to do is accomplish three main goals. One is to improve and enhance the areas and facilities we undersized, or as George likes to say, the ones that I made a mistake on. You know, he would say, no, these were all things I wanted, but you made the mistake. So when we built the facility, we had a cut. We didn't know what we were going to get, so we undersized some things. So we want to try and correct those mistakes right now. We want to add some additional wellness and health space. As the wellness industry has changed, as community health has changed, there's some different initiatives, functional fitness, different things like that are going on, so we want to stay current in the fitness. And then throughout the YMCA movement as a whole, there's a real synergetic relationship that's happening with wellness partners in YMCAs. What's the best way to get people healthy? What's the best way to get communities healthy? And how does that happen? How can partners come together to make that successful? So we know a healthy community is a successful community. So that's another part of our goal. So we're going to try and do those three things with this expansion. So improve facilities. What do we get the most improve on? We want more gym time. So people are always asking for more gym time at the YMCA. So we're going to add a second gym in there, so it'll be a half gym. It won't be as big as the first gym, but a half-size gym, 3,600 square feet. We're going to call it, though, the Youth and Family Gym, because what happens at a YMCA, if you're ever in there watching, kids play basketball, the older kids seem to push the younger kids, and also the families out. So we want to make sure they get a chance to still continue to play basketball, engage in the family, and be together. So we think this gym will do that. It'll also give us the opportunity during our morning times and some other times like that to add some larger group exercise programs. So anyone done Zumba? I did it once, we'll never go back. I have no beat or rhythm at all, but Zumba is a very popular program. So 70 people in a Zumba class, we can't hold it at the Y. Our silver sneakers, as our seniors are aging, they're becoming more fit. They're actually living longer. They're actually our second largest population of membership now at Eastside is our senior membership. So our silver sneakers and our silver fit through Excelis and MVP, those are expanding. So we need to try and keep up with the trends and keep them healthy. We're going to add some stretching area and core area, which we definitely undersize. There's really no stretching area or no core area in the YMCA. It's all sort of machine-based. So we're going to add that upstairs. From there, we're going to add 6 individual bathrooms, so 4 on the second floor and then 2 on the first floor. One of the things that happened is that everyone used to use the locker rooms.
we don't even see 50% of our members using the locker room anymore. They come in, they're dressed to work out, they work out, they don't use the restrooms in the locker room. They want them accessed either on the second floor or up at the first floor across from the gym. So we're going to do that. So real quickly, what we're talking about is sort of, this would be where the auxiliary gym would be from there. We also then would talk about how are we going to add parking spots. And Mark will talk about that at the end because January, February, if you're ever at the Y, parking is actually limited. I saw Bill Wickham. We have an arrangement with Bill as we actually we have our employees park in his parking lot during the winter. So we plow that and we have our staff park over there and then walk over because we have limited parking during our real busy season from there. And then we're also going to add some conference space. So what we find is we have one conference room, but we have a lot of different groups that are looking to use it, whether it's a community group, whether it's Penfield, lacrosse, booster club meeting, Girl Scouts, anything like that. They're looking to use our community room. We're also getting into what we call these chronic disease prevention programs. The one that I could probably highlight for you is our diabetes prevention program. So we have a program, Center for Disease Control is actually monitoring the program. It's run through the YMCA, so people are pre-diabetic. We try and catch them before they're diabetic. If they hit 2 of the 3 thresholds, they can enroll in this program. And what we try and do is try and teach them a healthy lifestyle. We try and look at their eating habits and also their exercise habits. And the goal is to try and reduce their weight by 5 to 7%, because what studies have said is these people, if that happens, the chance of them contracting diabetes will be reduced. So we need space to do those types of things, our Live Strong program. So we're moving away from just machine-based programming, really trying to engage the community and trying to figure out what is the next cutting-edge thing that we want to do to help our community get healthy. Added space. So what don't we have? We don't have a sports performance center. So what a sports performance center would be this room here. I don't know if you've ever gone by the YMCA at 6 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock at night and you've seen people out in the field flipping tires. Believe it or not, they pay us to flip tires out there. So it's sort of this functional fitness type of regime. We can't do that year round. Where can we do that? So we have the Sports Performance Center, whether it's teams, whether it's individuals. Tough Mudders are some of those new and exciting types of events that are around. So this is some of the training that they do for that. So we think the Sports Performance Center will help us engage those types of young people from there. We're going to put a specialty wellness center, which is about 1,000 square feet. It's really just for any type of specialty wellness. So whether it's seniors, whether it's balance with seniors is a big issue. How do they keep their balance from there? Alzheimer's, fitness. There's some new things that are coming out. So this would be a small room where we can do that in a really less intimidating type of manner. We'd also put a second entrance on because we talked about parking, and again, I'll leave that to Mark. But unfortunately, if people walk more than about 50 yards for parking, they complain. Even though they're coming to the Y, we try and tell them it's actually a good warm-up to come before. You don't have to do your warm-up, but that doesn't always work. So what we're looking to do is put a second entrance, so if we do add more parking, they don't have to walk all the way around to the front. Then we'd put what we're calling a spinning stadium. And the spinning stadium is up on the second floor. We have a spinning room right now, but at East Side and in Penfield, we want to be the best we can, so we're calling it a spinning stadium. Right now, we have 50 bikes in that. We're going to have about 80 to 90 bikes. It'll be tiered, and then it will actually have video screens, so you can actually ride to the Tour de France or any of those types of things like that. As you probably know, there are a lot of riders and cyclists and triathletes on the east side of Rochester, so we think that that'll be a nice addition to what we offer at East Side. Then what we're going to do is with the old spinning studio, we're going to make that a new cardio studio. So we're actually, again, during our busy time, we run out of machines. We limit people to only 30 minutes, which we try not to do that. So we'll add 20 additional cardio machines right in here, which was the old spinning studio from there. Then we'll put some additional offices, because you always need offices, even though George doesn't like us to be in the office. There's a few office spaces that we're going to have to add. We'll put back some of our fitness evaluations, our massage, yoga type one-on-one training programs with another room from
from there. And then the last one that you're probably looking at, what is a wellness partner? Well, we're not sure who our wellness partner is, but we think there's a lot of synergy with the YMCA coming up and actually partnering with some type of wellness partner. So of the top YMCAs in the country, there's 42 YMCAs right now that are partnering with the wellness partner that are doing types of programs together to try and achieve better functional fitness, better recovery from injuries, and also how do we prevent injuries. One of the things that limited us at Eastside is when someone were to come up to us and say, I hurt my shoulder, or, well, what should I do? We can't prescribe. That's not our area of expertise. So what we're looking to do is partner with expertise so we can get people what they want, and we think it can really be a great continuum of care, continuum of recovery, or a great preventative way to keep people healthy in the community. So I just need to look at my notes, see if I missed anything. And the only thing I would say is with the partners program, that's only about 7% of the entire building. So when we talk about that, it's a small component, but we think it's a great component as we continue to reach out to the community and try and serve the community in a better and more professional manner from there. So any questions on the program itself? Again, I'm going to have Mark do the site plan because I don't know all of the drainage and SWIPs and swipes and all those other things like that. That's his area of expertise. Any questions on the programmatic space? No. Okay. Mark? We'll give your clips back, sorry.
Good evening. My name is Mark Kenward. I'm with Erdman Anthony, and we are charged with doing the site planning and site design, civil site engineering for the expansion. You all have probably seen this site plan. There's a colored version here. Kevin printed some off if you'd like to see the colored version. The existing building footprint is approximately 47,660 square feet. The proposed building addition footprint is 19,350 square feet, for a total proposed building footprint of 67,000 square feet. Kevin spoke about the rear entrance. That's this hatched brown area here. It's a large canopy, kind of similar in nature to what the main entrance is, but on a little smaller scale. From this rear entrance, it is intended to be a secondary drop-off pickup point, but also provides, we have a walkway, direct access to the rear, to the back fields, the, what do you call that? The camp and the recreation fields in that area back there. As you know, you've seen a master plan was included with our submission, an updated master plan. And probably one of the biggest things on that was the presence of the future aquatic center. I want to stress that that aquatic center is future. It is not part of this application, but we are showing it on the site plan so you can see how it is intended to try and fit with this expansion. Now, this is just a very conceptual footprint of an aquatic center, but the key to this expansion was to be able to provide access to that aquatic center, but more importantly, for the one little building that is needed to store chemicals on there, which is over here in this corner of the site. Now, as you can see, the parking lot expansion is across the west side and extends over to the south. They're trying to maximize the amount of parking in this project. As we indicated on the site plan, there's 428 existing spaces, of which 16 are handicapped accessible or accessible. The original site plan approval also included approval of 116 spaces that were not built, but were designated in this area here to the northwest of the building. The project will impact or dislocate 62 existing spaces and 1 handicap accessible. And we're proposing to put back now 616 because one of the comments was about the driveway width down here. So We fixed that on this color plan we presented you because that was an easy thing to address. So we're looking at a proposed total now of 616 spaces. So we're adding 188, less the land bank spaces of 116. We're looking at a new net total of 72 spaces, above and beyond what is existing now and has been approved. One of the biggest concerns about this, of course, is drainage and stormwater management. And we have done some preliminary review of the projects and their stormwater designs, the initial project and then the subsequent project that added some buildings and camp facilities in the rear. Our goal here is to first utilize any excess capacity in the existing stormwater management facilities, followed by, and that includes this is a bioretention area here adjacent, well, right between the parking lot and the camp area. And then to the rear is a stormwater management pond. It's called a micropool extended detention basin. We believe there's excess capacity in there. Our preliminary design indications of that. The next step is, after we use up available excess capacity, is to then enlarge the existing micropool extended detention basin to address any increase in stormwater runoff, and also to help it address the increase in need for stormwater quality management. And the last and least desirable, at least on the part of the YMCA, is to create yet another stormwater retention area or stormwater management practice on the site. The biggest problem with trying to do that is we also have to consider snow storage in the wintertime, and it's discouraged from placing snow storage on your stormwater, directly on your stormwater management practices. So given the site constraints, we're first trying to maximize the parking and then maximize the existing drainage and stormwater management facilities we have on site. We did get comments, a dozen comments on our sketch plan, and we appreciate that. The intent of this sketch plan was to identify any showstoppers, not come into preliminary plan and have missed something. I think one of the key points was the fact that a zoning variance will be needed, or an area variance for the parking down in this area here. And I think the Y will want to pursue that, because the goal of this project is we need to maximize the amount of parking and get the parking we can get now. It's not likely that they'll be able to get more parking in the future given the master plan for the site and the existing site constraints. But key to this parking lot down here is this parking lot will also provide access to the pool chemical storage building of the aquatic center. And that is intended to be down in this area. Now this, as I said, this aquatic center is just conceptual, but we have to trying to keep it in mind when we design our stormwater facilities, our swales, our ditches, our pipes, so that we minimize any impact of that when the aquatic center is built, if and when it is ever built. I can go through these point by point, but we did provide responses. And I guess I would just ask, is there any responses that the board would like me to expand on or discuss more? All right. Given the expansion and the increase in parking, one of the key concerns about this project is always about the past project and new projects, and this project is traffic. And Steve Ferrani, SRF Associates, is an expert in that, and I think he has some very interesting thoughts and ideas on that.
Thank you, Mark. Good evening. My name's Stephen Ferrani with SRF and Associates. Good to be here. I've been retained by the YMCA to take a look at the traffic impact resulting from the proposed expansion. We completed a full traffic impact study in July, submitted it to the town and as well as to New York State DOT, made a call over to Traffic and Safety New York State offices this morning, and Dave Gehring said they're in the midst of reviewing the traffic report. But I'll give you a high-level overview. I could dig as deep as you would like. I'll give you specifics as much as you want or need. We did a study. When I say we did a study, Before we even started, we touched base with the town, talked with Mark Valentine, and Katie, I think you were out at the time. But to scope geographically what intersections, what was the study area to include. We included Atlantic in 250, the Site Drive, and what's the other one? Sweets Corners, correct. Those three intersections. And we studied the peak commuter time periods. A little off, I've got the exact time periods. We have done previous studies for municipalities, one very recently, in scrutinizing YMCA facilities. So we had, and thankfully from the client here, an extensive amount of historical data on traffic at other facilities. And so we have a great hand, we think. You know, when you look at IT, they say get local input and knowledge. That's your best source of information for determining trip generation. We had a tremendous source, and I could share that with you in detail if you'd like. I'll just call our office. Our traffic generation for this project is based upon that information. Take a step back a little bit. So after we scoped the project, we sent people out, studied traffic conditions, actually counted turning moments, counts at each of those locations. Peak hours for the facility as well as on the street, 7:45 to 8:45 in the morning, and 5 to 6 in the afternoon. No surprises when people come and go, to and from work, to and from going to YMCA's, health facilities, recreational facilities. The data collection was performed, as I said, in July. We counted the existing driveway, just to give you order of magnitude, on the order of 230 cars are entering the site morning and afternoon, 230, 240, and exiting on the order of 151 in the morning, 177 at night. Large numbers, and then they're further divided into left and right turns. The report has all the diagrams that indicate that. I'm not going to go over that right now. Another request to include in the study was to take a look at the accident history at the YMCA Drive in 250. The historical accident history. We contacted New York State DOT, and over the past 3 years, there were no reported accidents per that source. There may have been some unreported accidents, but based upon the information that we normally rely upon in the source of information, there were no accidents at that site. When we do these traffic studies, we have to estimate traffic at time of completion of the facility, so we increase the ambient traffic on 250. 0.5% per year in accordance with DOT guidelines. So we inflated that traffic. For trip generation, we know that membership is the best variable to use, not square footage, not specific uses. When you look at trip generation for YMCA facilities, we had estimates of increase in membership from the Y on the order of 6%. We increased that and used 10% for our traffic analysis and our models. So we actually inflated the numbers, the volumes a little bit, a little safety cushion, and that's included in our analysis. The results of what we then determined, so now we look at full development conditions for those time periods, and no surprises. If you go over there, you obviously know what happens. During the peak hours, it's very difficult for left turns to exit onto 250. It's a level of service F. I won't get into the technical weeds, but it's level of service F, poor conditions for getting out. Right turns, a little better operating condition. They do get out, level of service C on the order for existing. In the future, it's just going to get compounded, not significantly, but still enough. It's at a point where a little bit means something. There's one thing I want to say. To put in perspective, what is this project? How much additional new traffic is this project generating? During the morning peak, on the order of 23 vehicles, 25 vehicles entering, 15 exiting. And during the afternoon, 27 exiting, 34. Excuse me, in the afternoon, yes, 34 entering, 27 entering, 34 exiting. Those may seem small. It's an order of magnitude of what's happening here. There is some shared trips between the users among that. Also, what we didn't take into account that we know exists, because how do we know exists? We did an actual on-site survey of people at this Y, several months back, even before we were retained by the Y, this was part of our study for another project, to see how many of the customers are already on the road, the pass-by effect. How many people that go to the Y are already on 250? They're just coming in as part of their trip to work. So we have those numbers, and they're on the order of 15% to 20% of the traffic generated is pass-by traffic. We did not apply that reduction to the traffic count. So again, we took a more conservative approach. And we did that for several reasons. Our traffic counts are taken in July. There's some variability in the seasonality of that. We know that. So that would offset that. There's peaks and valleys of operations at the Y. They have membership drives. We know when those are. We've seen them, plotted them over the course of a year. So we've taken all those into account to try to give you the best snapshot of what we think will really happen at that driveway, and it's representative of most conditions. And so what the end result is we have the full development volumes, and then we start checking how well does it operate, and it operates poorly for the lefts getting out. The lefts getting in are okay. There is some delays, and again, I've got detailed tables to share with you what specifically each movement is. Not going to go there. But what we did find out is we then went through state's typical signal warrant investigations. What criteria do we need to look at to determine if a traffic signal is needed at this location? And they have significant warrants on the order of 9. It's always changing. It's up to 11, goes back to 9. There's 8 significant warrants that we look at: volume-based warrants, accident warrants, delay warrants, a number of things, school pedestrian warrants. It meets, under future conditions, 3 of what we think are the pertinent warrants. 3 is significant. You need to get to that number. Warrants are guidelines. Sounds like it's more than that, but warrants are the first step, the first pass. I know many of you know that if you're in any development reviews. So we dig deeper. So then what we did, and this is what the state's already doing now, DOT, is we did a gap study at the driveway in the afternoon to determine if there's sufficient gaps for left turns to get out during those peak hours. And what we determined is under existing conditions, there is an insufficient number of gaps today for the left turns to get out. And that was confirmed by some of the observations of our people of what some of the people are doing as they maneuver and try to exit the driveway. Under full conditions, it's less. It's a greater deficiency of gaps. And so based upon our information and results, we're recommending the installation of a signal at this driveway. It's up for DOT's consideration, review, and approval. What is a big factor, you all know that, I'm sure, is the speed limit that's out there. It's 50 miles an hour. That comes into play when you look at the warrants and all sorts of things it affects. We're also very mindful of what the town has been trying to do here with mixed-use developments all along 250 and other parts of the town, and that 50 mile an hour is not compatible with good mixed-use development. And 250 will serve, as 441 has for ages, as sometimes a moat for people to get across. And so what we know is that, and again, this is just complementary what we've already found, with a traffic signal in place that will, to a certain extent, slow traffic down at a more target speed, not create congestion, but at a more target speed to make it more livable community for compatible with your mixed-use development. With that, and again, it's contingent on DOT's review and approval, but I've covered the most important points I think that I should be touching base on. Any questions? No. Turn it over to Jeff Rollison from Labella.
I'm going to wrap up here real quickly for you. As stated, Jeffrey Rollison. I'm an architect with Labella Associates, located 300 State Street, Rochester, New York. We're proposing to wrap the use and the function that Kevin outlined earlier, utilizing the same massing in the architectural language that was previously established with the primary facility. Our goal is to expand it really effortlessly to the west, incorporating the same materials, the brick, the glass, the warmth of the stone and the wood, And the nice thing about doing this 7 years after the first is everything is still available. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm George Rommel, I'm the president and CEO. It's nice to be back here, nice to see many of you. First, I want to thank you for your confidence and faith in us many years ago. That seems like yesterday, but it's almost 8 years now that we began this effort. I'm really proud of this YMCA, Kevin's leadership. This is one of the #1 Ys in the country, as measured by membership satisfaction consistently over the past 7 years. We think it's a jewel here. We think we've been consistent, good neighbors to the community. The Y is very much a fabric of part of this east side of Rochester, and it is a premier location, and we're very proud of it. So as we come to you, obviously with some ideas to grow, I think it's necessary and it's timely. In the blink of an eye, we now serve over 20,000 people on a regular basis. Many of you participate in that. You know what we have. We built it in a pretty challenging environment. We made some decisions on land acquisition in regards to neighborhoods and working with the neighbors that benefited us greatly. We purchased additional property around the facility to help with that now has a compatible use for our association. And I think most importantly, what we're presenting to you here is remarkably consistent with the master plan that you asked for many, many years ago. And that's why we want to continue to show you what's on our mind and what's there for the future. If you're there in the winter, you know the activity that exists. If you're there in the summer, you know the activity that exists. Clearly, the one remaining piece of the full master plan development is this aquatic center. If we had the financial resources to do it, we do it now, but we don't. And it was a choice to be made between what would give us year-round activity versus seasonal activity. We get this question all the time because in 3 of our other facilities, we have those outdoor facilities for members, and we get a lot of folks from the east side that do that. I think the other part of this proposed plan by our team, which has done a fantastic job, thank you all very much, is there was great sensitivity by the previous planning board about the development of the front. And as you know, we designed the building so we could grow to the front with a significant setback. I believe it's 185 feet or 170 feet or something like that, with a significant amount of trees that are now growing up and exist there. We're not proposing to do that. We recognize the sensitivity of that. I'm not saying never, but I think that in reality, this is a better expansion programmatically. It's a better expansion in terms of aesthetics. Certainly, we want to take into account the impact it would have on Country Club East and make sure we work with the neighbors. Kevin facilitated a neighborhood meeting last night to get that ball rolling. So we wanted to come early to the table. In regards to this idea of a wellness partner, 7 years ago, that was almost unheard of. Now, 42 of the largest Ys in the country are doing it, but there's over 1,000 Ys that have these type of arrangements. So that is consistent and compatible with what we believe is our conditional use permit. And if you can connect health where people are intimidated by doctor and medical settings and bring it to a setting where there's less trauma associated with becoming healthy, it's a huge gain. And we're in significant discussions with several organizations throughout our 15 YMCAs in this Rochester area. So I'm happy that you're giving us the opportunity to do it. We know it's just the beginning. We appreciate that. And we'll take any questions that you have for us.
Go ahead.
What do you project, what are your membership numbers right now? And what do you project 5, 10, 15 years out?
Hopefully I'm not here 15 years from now. I'm retired, but I don't know. But George, sorry to surprise you.
You'll still be a member of the Y.
I'll still be a member of the Y. So we're currently right at about that 20,000 level. So that's about 6,600 units, because a family is 1 unit, but they have 3 or 4 people in from there. We think we'll have about a 6% growth when we add this addition from there. I don't want to say that that's conservative, but we also know as we look future that the Southeast Y in Pittsford at sometime 5, 7 years down the line would become online. So then we know that our growth would not stagnant, but it would be a little bit less than we've currently seen, our 3% and 4% growth over the last year. So we think with this new addition, we would get to somewhere around another 5 or 6%, maybe 2% a year after that, but after about 5 years, really, really top off. So if we're at that 23,000, 24,000, I think I would be happy. George might be happy with a few more, but I think that's what we're projecting.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Does your parking lot ever max out right now?
It maxes out. So in the wintertime, it maxes out because luckily Bill has let us use his parking spots. So we have about 35 spots over there that we use. And then this summer, particularly on first days of camp, so I'll explain that a little bit, is that we actually had an overflow of parking on our first 2 Mondays of camp. Because what we saw is instead of usually we have a drop-off circle, but the first week or two of camp, parents didn't actually drop their kids off in the circle. They wanted to park, bring them back, make sure they, could check in and do everything like that. Through the course of the summer, when they were very comfortable with our staff and they used the drop-off and were familiar with that, we didn't have quite the issue that we had. But those first 2 Mondays of the first 2 weeks of camp, we actually had a parking issue. They were parking actually in the grass over by Bill's place.
Okay. The only other question that I have currently is that proposed parking at the south end gets pretty close to the neighbor.
That was actually addressed, the neighbor actually, and I'm bad at names, but we talked to her yesterday because, again, as George mentioned, we actually invited Country Club East to see the plan, give us feedback from there. So she was concerned about that parking, and while we would love to get the maximum amount of parking, we know that if a variance isn't there, it's not the end of the world. So we could take, I think if we went with the variance and took that off, we would be okay. So we could shorten that a little bit. But again, as Mark said, we want to make sure that we still can remain access to this driveway back there. And if you remember on the original master plan, that was actually a gravel parking that we thought that we would use for summer usage of the pool. So all as we're asking for now, instead of make it gravel, we want to see if we can actually pave it from there. So that was gravel parking at one time, and I don't think that was included with the overall land bank parking, if I remember correctly.
You also go into this wellness partner scenario a little bit more. Would that be like a private entity? Would it be something that to me, it's a potential change in use.
I can let George talk to that because he's been doing more of the negotiations than I have.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, and I appreciate the questions on it. Essentially, what we're looking at is 3 different scenarios. The scenario you saw had up to 6,900 square feet of a wellness partner. So what's a wellness partner? It can be anything from rehab and health-related space, i.e., a community health organization, a therapy organization. The best example that I can give you of this close to this area is the brand-new Independent Health Y in Buffalo, New York. Just opened up, very similar to the size of this one, patterned after this YMCA, but now, as part of its delivery system, has these services inside of it. In that case, it's rehab for sports injuries. It's a sports clinic. It is an eye clinic. There are many examples of YMCAs that have limited pediatric practice or family practices. And we're not talking about, the Platinum Building here or something like that. We're talking about a small connection. In the scope of things, the maximum is 6,900 square feet. That's about 7% of the total footprint of the building. We have 3 different organizations that we're discussing it with. If you look at, they're not in front of me, but if you look at the plan, you can see the box. You can see that the second floor goes over that box a little bit, does not go over that box all the way. We also took care to design it. Thanks, Jeff. So if you look, there's the box right there. All of the organizations that we've talked with are pretty consistent about first floor space. which works for us because clearly the way our second floor flows, that wouldn't really work having that type of things. But we've talked about potential strength training, particularly in sports rehab situations. We don't see diagnostic services like x-rays or that type of thing that is happening. It's a little too soon to tell in terms of the interest that we're taking, and clearly we are looking at all of the option. Option 1 is 6,900. I think it started at 8. We dropped it down because we want to have natural light coming into those existing windows. Option 2 is about 4,000 square feet. Either way, we came to the conclusion that if there is that type of partner, we needed that other entrance, specifically not just for them, but for the membership. So that's where we're at with it. I've got a company that we work with that works with a number of YMCAs that can give you examples of how this exists all over the country. But clearly Buffalo, which just opened this Y in January? Yeah, just opened this Y in January, is brand new, and you know, we could get you information on that.
Which Y is that and where?
It's actually, it's in the Williamsville area. It's, the colloquial name is Northtowns Y, but it's called the Independent Health YMCA. So in this case, this was a major health provider like an HMO or a Blue Cross or an Excellus type of thing, actually putting their name on this organization. And they have, I believe it's 9,000 or 10,000 square feet, basically off the first floor space. Pretty consistent. This really began in Des Moines, Iowa, with a Hospital Y partnership, and has consistently grown and is really taking off now. So we were right on the edge of it when we were designing the building the last time, but there was not the concrete evidence that this was working. And when you look at the push around community health now, and particularly chronic disease prevention, that makes it pretty prevalent. When the CDC says the YMCA Diabetes Prevention Program is a landmark program to help people stay away from diabetes, we have to respond to that. And we actually had the head of the CDC in April for the largest 50 Ys in the country talking about that they had spent billions to find the miracle cure for all of these diseases. And he pointed at us and he said, it's you guys, it's exercise, and it's socialization, and it's group work. So that kind of space is not easy to create. And so we couldn't do it the first time. And I certainly think you obviously are aware of it, and we want to be upfront with it about how it happens. We can keep you in the loop about where it heads. There are regs associated, what is commonly called as Article 28 in terms of space. But we are not settled by any means at this point, but we wanted to show the box. Thanks, AJ.
Anyone else on the board have questions?
Yeah, one quick question. Do you have any idea how many folks arrive by bicycle or walk rather than by vehicle?
We don't have we actually did an informal survey this summer because we were talking about sidewalks and how does that work from there. We know on any given day during the summer, and summer's our highest bike time, that we would have anywhere between 8 to 10 bikes that would be in our bike rack. So it was usually in the morning time and then also in the afternoon time. During the day and evening time, we don't get many bikes at all. And walking, we didn't get a great feel for, but we did it again, another informal surveys to figure out, and we had about 40, our highest was about 40 people a day that said they walked from their house to the YMCA, and usually it's somewhere around 15 to 20 that will walk. Country Club East will do that, and there's actually a path that some people walk behind. Some of them will come all the way out, and then I can't remember what the how across on the other side behind the church, whatever that one is. They'll walk from there. So on our biggest day, we had 40 people that walked, and that always creates a traffic light. How do they cross, and where are the sidewalks? So we try to take that into consideration also.
And Kevin, what's your daily attendance?
On daily attendance right now, we're averaging just over 2,800 scans a day. So that's people that scan in. We figure on a busy day, we're right around that 3,000, 3,100 people a day. Again, 8:30 till 10 o'clock is a big time. Might be a little bit earlier from there. And then what we're finding now is it's actually going later into the night. It used to be about 4 to 4:15. Now it's really 5 till about 8 o'clock is that we're getting busy. So we're not sure what that is, but we've actually started to move some of our fitness classes a little bit later as we've seen that trend.
Anyone else? Anyone in the audience?
Can I say something?
Come up to the...
I just joined in the last moment, but I like
You look good, too.
My name is Lalit Shah. I live in Penfield. I weigh about less than 1 mile from YMCA. I used to go to Lifetime Fitness for last 15 years, and I just joined YMCA about back in June because my grandson 3 months told me, "You come with me." So health is the main issue because of the exercise. I'm a heart patient, I had a bypass, I have a defibrillator right now while I'm talking to you, but my medication cut into half after I'm doing exercise. And I'm not doing enough exercise that I can cut it into 0. My doctors told me that if I do exercise regularly, then even I don't have to take my insulin anymore. So Y is doing a very good job, and I think I'm a firm believer in exercise. And this is not only going to cut down the disease, but it is going to cut down the national problem, which is medical costs keep going up. Preventive measurement is the fitness, and that will, Y can do lot more work about that thing. And second thing, this Y, I was just asking him, is top 10. We can be on the map in the national, that if you are going to visit Rochester area, visit Penfield Y. So give all the supports to them, whatever you can.
Yes, sir. Oops.
So my name is Joel Osteller. I live in Country Club East, and I apologize for not making the info session last night. I was busy at work. I had a couple questions, more just like informational. This parking lot here, does this go into your already grass area that's already there, or does it back up into the trees? And
That there is.
Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah.
this one right here?
Yeah. This is the grass, so these are the plain fields. So this is the grass. There are some trees that are here that this part of the parking lot would back
Okay.
up into.
Okay, and so my next question is, thank you.
Yeah.
My next question is the aquatic center, the future, I know that's not a part of this plan, but is that going to be an open aquatic center, or is it going to be like a closed building, or?
So I can, thanks, Kevin. As it's shown here, if you're familiar with the other Y in Penfield, which is the Bayview branch, we built an aquatic center on the back of that building. It's an open-air pool and an aqua playground, so it's really 2 tanks, if you will. It's a large recreational pool for families and for campers, and then what's called a zero-depth aqua playground with a enclosed built summer locker room building, if you will.
Okay.
So we have 3 examples of that. We have one in Penfield off of Bay Road, we have one at Camp Arrowhead in Pittsford, and we have one in Greece.
Okay.
Very compatible, very similar, slightly larger in terms of the capacity issues, but not a covered pool by any means.
Okay, is this right here the existing water area for, that backs up into Country Club East?
That's that existing area is actually is pavement, so that's a basketball court.
Oh, okay.
That's the basketball courts that are there.
How close is this to the existing, you know, there's like kind of like a little lake out there that backs behind the Lunds?
Oh, you can see that.
Oh, okay.
So
This is
right.
This is the revised master plan, master development plan.
So what you're talking about is the Lund, which I believe is a town pond, which is back there. So that's right here.
Yeah, the pond for Country
The
Club.
pond,
East
yeah,
is
the
here.
pond is right here for Country Club
Their
East.
pond, their stormwater management pond is
Here.
right here.
Okay.
So the town pond that has those paths and whatever is over in this area right here.
Right, okay. Okay, I guess I have one other quick comment, and, you know, I'd kind of like to maybe take a look at this, you know, later on. I mean, it looks kind of good on the surface. I don't really have too much problems with it, but, you know, with this being open air, you know, the pools typically have a lot of, you know, kids that are loud and noisy and stuff like that. And so I guess I might get concerned that the additional noise it might create in the neighborhood. And so, you know, any considerations you might have for addressing that, you know, when that time comes. I know that's further down the road.
And then,
Go
I'd say,
ahead.
Annie, just as Katie would say, if you want to call me tomorrow, I can, you know, walk you through the plan or send you a copy.
Oh, okay, sure, sure. Yeah, I'd like to do that sometime. One last comment is I really like the idea of the light. I think it's a real concern. I'm really concerned with the speed of that road and as much traffic comes out of there. You know, I mean, yeah, we haven't had any accidents in 3 years, but, you know, and it's going to be a bad one when it happens, so I appreciate that. So thank you.
Is there anyone else who wants to speak? Come on up.
My name is Neeraj Shah, and I use the Y pretty regularly. I go to the Y our family goes to the Y probably like 5 days a week. It's really been a godsend just for our family. Like my dad said, it's good for health, but my wife, she works, I work, and we have 2 little ones. And sometimes we find ourselves guilty if one person goes to do exercise and the other one has to stay home. The Y is really great because they have a child watch system, and it just makes it very convenient for people to do exercise. People don't have single income families anymore. A lot of people are dual income, and they've really catered to like getting rid of diseases, and really with the economic times, I mean, it's very affordable, and I see a lot of attendance. It's been great for social and meeting new people.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience? Thanks, guys. We'll close this sketch plan.